Hey guys, welcome back to Just a Geek in the Garage. Today I want to do a video here about 5 different popular Snap-on tools and kind of some alternatives that are going to be mid-priced and low-priced that are still going to be able to get the job done for you. I recently did a video just to, basically saying, or asking, is Snap-on still relevant in this day and age when I can just go on Amazon and buy a tool or walk into Harbor Freight and buy a solid tool? And that seemed to kind of resonate with a lot of people out there. So I wanted to kind of follow up with a video like this where I'm not only kind of showing the Snap-on tool, but I'm giving you an alternative. And the alternatives that I'm giving you today, one, are not going to be by companies owned by Snap-on. So it's not something like Williams or Bahco or something like that, which I've done in the past. They're going to be something where either you can walk into Harbor Freight and pick it up, or if you're like some people that just hate Harbor Freight and would never buy anything from there regardless, I'll give you another option that maybe you can get from Amazon or another store like that. So what I'm gonna try to do is, again, you're gonna have 2 alternatives to each Snap-on tool that I'm providing, and let's kind of go. So first of all, we have this pick set right here in front of you. This is the Snap-on, the Comfort Grip pick set. Their price is somewhere around $70 for this set right here. You can usually get it in hard handle or the soft grip. I have both, but I tend to use the soft grip more when it comes to these, when I'm prying on things and things like that. And one thing that I want to kind of get straight on the pick sets is that I don't care if you're spending $70 on a pick set or you're spending $10 or $20 on a pick set. These things are going to bend. And the pick sets that I've had, especially when I was doing this professionally back in the day, was probably my most warranted tool by far. And, I would probably have to warranty one of these at least maybe once a month. And so with my coworker, so the guy obviously constantly had, a lot of replacements here. And you would basically just pop it out, pop in a new one, took him a minute, and we were kind of good to go. So, was it worth it to buy the expensive ones back then because we were bending them constantly, not having to go, say, to make a trip to Harbor Freight? Yeah, I think it was. But now when we're talking about $70, I don't know if that's going to be the case anymore, especially when these other ones come with lifetime warranties anyways. So let's take these ones kind of out of the way. And the first set, the obvious choice right here, or the obvious comparison, is going to be these Icon ones. Even on the Harbor Freight site and whatever, it compares Icon directly to Snap-on a lot of their tools. And these things are great. I've had these things for quite a while. I've been using these. I haven't bent them yet, but, again, I'm trying to use them for what they're designed for and not use them for something that they're not, like actual pry bars, things like that. But, I've been very kind of happy with them. The grips are nice, things like that. So when I want something that's going to be similar to the Snap-on, I grab for these guys. Retail price is about $20, Harbor Freight price. Since this is a sub $20 tool, they always have 30% off, so you can probably get this thing for around $14. Normally when it's on sale, I should say, or sometimes it'll even drop down to $10 like it was not that long ago on Black Friday. So this, I think, is probably going to be a great alternative. But this one, again, if you just don't want to deal with Harbor Freight, hate Harbor Freight or whatever, is this set from OEMTOOLS. For you guys that don't know, OEMTOOLS, it's a great tool company. They actually make a lot of tools that end up getting rebranded on the tool trucks. This pick set is a great little pick set. I picked this thing up just to kind of check it out. When I first got it, I really, I wasn't sure about this handle. It's very, very kind of thin and, longer than the Snap-on equivalent. But the more I use it, the more I kind of started to like it. Now, I don't always like this one better, but when you're working on a space that's smaller, having a thin handle like this sometimes does make a difference. And especially when you can kind of grab it from, here or what have you, it's a nice little kind of different feel than you have with your traditional pick set. This thing runs for, I think, around $12 or $13 on Amazon. And I'll put a link in the description for anything that I can that you can kind of pick up from Amazon. So these 2 sets, like I said, $10-12, 14 to 20 versus $70 for the Snap-on equivalent, or for the Snap-on, I should say. Next up, let's look at screwdrivers. So screwdrivers, if you guys are watching this video, I'm sure you're probably familiar with the Snap-on Instinct Grip screwdrivers. It's a great set of screwdrivers, don't get me wrong. It's one of the most comfortable grips that you're going to find in the industry, and it's copied, quite a bit. And because it's copied quite a bit, I wanted to give you some alternatives that were going to be a little bit different and not just go, hey, let's look at the Icon ones and move on, because that's the obvious comparison. But I want to look at something a little bit different here today. So as you can see here, this one is very, very heavily used, for me. Probably almost time to get a replacement here. But, Snap-on tools are great, but just like every other tool, if you use them heavily, they are going to need to be replaced. And they're designed that way. The trucks are designed to just simply remove the shank, put a new shank on there, and you're good to go. So that's a good thing and a bad thing, because if you have a lifetime warranty through other companies, usually they're going to replace the entire thing, where Snap-on is going to replace just the part that's broken. Like I mentioned on the picks, you would keep the handle, but they're going to replace the actual pick portion, where with this, they would replace the shank portion. So the couple alternatives that I have, so to kind of keep in line with the other ones, the first one is going to be Doyle. These are very similar to the Klein screwdrivers that you can find that usually are yellow right here. But I found these things to be great screwdrivers, or they're pretty much indestructible. I decided to even pick these up, a few sets of these for my business, and my installers use these things. And I think these are a great screwdriver set. Regular Harbor Freight price is about $20 for, I think it's a 6-piece or 7-piece set of these guys. So I think it's a great alternative. Again, you can walk into Harbor Freight today and buy them. Instead of paying $200, you're paying a tenth of the cost. It's about $20. And I think this is an 8-piece set and this is a 7-piece set. So, keep that in mind when you are looking at these things. And then I have two other kind of honorable mentions from Harbor Freight. But before I do that, the Wera are a great set of screwdrivers. I recently started really getting into Wera tools, and the more I buy, the more I want to buy, which is, a very dangerous thing. But these grips are very, very comfortable. They're not as oversized as the Snap-on. So these ones might be good if you don't have larger hands as well. But, even with somebody with extra large gloves like these things fit perfectly. I can definitely, use these, get a lot of torque on them. Plus, I really, really like, I think it's like these laser engraved or laser etched tips on here. They really do bite into the fastener really, really well, where the Snap-on doesn't quite have that. If I can get this thing in focus, there we go. Doesn't quite have that on there. You can kind of see all that, damage from how much it's been used. So, this set is probably around $35 or so on Amazon for, actually I have the set right here if I can kind of put it up. It's just part of this set right here, minus this guy. It even comes with a little holder for it as well that you can put into a pegboard or mount into some wood. But like I mentioned, I also have two kind of honorable mentions from Harbor Freight as well, if you guys are willing to do Harbor Freight. This Quinn set right here, I think is kind of a sleeper set that not a lot of people talk about. This thing it's like, the set is $28 normal price. It's a very comprehensive set. I forget exactly how many pieces, but I want to say it's like 15 or 16 pieces. But I really, really like the grip on these ones. And when friends or family kind of ask me, hey, what screwdriver set should I buy? I usually direct them to this. And especially when these things are on sale, they usually will drop down to about $21. And, the family members and friends that I have recommended this to have really, really liked this one. So I think this is a great one to go with. And again, it's Harbor Freight, lifetime warranty. Something breaks, you just walk in, hand it in. They give you a brand new one. They're not replacing anything on the spot like they would be with the Snap-on. And in the same vein, they also have these ones right here. A little bit of a smaller set. It's about, I think, 17 or 18 bucks. It comes with, I believe, 6 of these. But these ones have the diamond coating on them as well. So these Quinn, I think, are a great alternative as well to Snap-on. And again, we're talking about roughly the 10th the price on most of the sets that you're looking at. So let's kind of move directly on to pry bars. So this one's going to be kind of interesting because I'm including one here that obviously is not a pry bar, but stick with me here. So we have this Snap-on. This is their 8-inch curved pry bar with the strike cap on there. Great little guy. For the purposes that I have, I use something this size much more often than I use the really big ones. I mean, I do have much bigger pry bars from a bunch of different companies, especially from Hyper Tough. I think it's a great one to go with. But again, this thing's about $45 just for this guy right here. It does the job, but it's pretty expensive for what it is. The handle definitely is nice, and I do like the fact that it comes out here to protect your hand, but it's pricey. So here are what I'm suggesting as alternatives. So first one is going to be this guy from Hyper Tough. If you guys don't know, I always mess this up. I always say they're made by Mayhew, but they're actually made by Wild. And correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm almost positive that these ones are made by Wild, but I always make that mistake. And these ones can actually be had at Walmart of all places. And the nice thing about these, made in the USA, I mentioned this thing's about $45 by itself. This actually comes in a set of 3 with the 8-inch, 12-inch, and 15-inch for $22. So in reality, this thing is, depending on how you break down the price, is probably sub $6 or $7. And it's a great little pry bar. I've used these things, quite a bit, and it's got the striking cap on there. As you can see, it's gotten a few different strikes on there right there. But for size-wise and all that kind of stuff, as you guys can see, is very, very similar to the Snap-on. And again, you're going from $45 to probably about $5 or so. So that's one alternative. And if you guys don't have a local Walmart near you, which almost everybody does, you can buy these, online at Walmart as well. They have these in a bunch of different sizes, going all the way down to their kind of little micro sets like this, and then going all the way up to, I want to say it's like a 25-inch pry bar, depending on what you guys need. And then my alternative to it now, Harbor Freight obviously has things that are similar to this that you can go in from Pittsburgh, but the pricing is not that dissimilar from this, so that's why I would definitely go here. But I actually have this right here, which is a demolition screwdriver from Harbor Freight, and I think that this is also a good alternative for a lot of us, especially us home gamers, because most of the time when you need a little pry bar like this, you're grabbing a flathead anyways. So this one is actually designed to be used in that way, because it has a striking cap on here. The metal goes all the way through here. And again, if you're using this as a pry bar and you destroy it, just take it right back to Harbor Freight. They'll get you a brand new one. This you can get it as a set of screwdrivers, where I think 2 or 3 of the screwdrivers are strikeable. And it's about $22 or $23 or so for that. Or you can buy it as a pack of 2, where it comes with just a standard and a Phillips. And I want to say those are about $10-15 or something like that. But I think this is a great alternative to even just a regular pry bar. And again, saving yourself quite a bit of money. Let's kind of move on. I'm going to go over to let's do the ratchets, since they're kind of more in frame right now. Ratchets, as you guys know, Snap-on ratchets are extremely expensive. This just happens to be their industrial finish one. It's pretty much identical to their chrome ones, just has a little bit of a different finish on there. I just got a good deal on this one, so I picked this one up. But these ones run brand new for about $120, $130 for just this little 1/4-inch guy. And as you get bigger, as you get, flex head and you get comfort grips, you're just going to add to that price. So, Snap-on ratchets get very, very expensive very, very quickly. This one happens to be their dual 80 line, which in reality is 72 teeth for the 1/4-inch. It's only 80 tooth for the 3/8 and the 1/2-inch. Personally, I've avoided their new 100 tooth models, because there was a lot of issues when they first came out. And you know what? 80 tooth seems to be a happy medium for me. I don't really have any issues with that. So that's the Snap-on. Now, again, the obvious comparison is going to be Icon. So Icon, this is actually their first gen right here, which some people love, some people hated. The main thing that people hated about this was they said it had a lot of back drag on there. I found if you just took this thing apart, popped in some super lube in there and used it for a bit, that a lot of that back drag disappeared. But this is the Gen 1, which is the 90 tooth, and they came out with the Gen 2, although it's only in limited sizes. That one is going to be back to an 80 tooth, similar to something like this. And when they come out with the ones that are going to be stubbier like this, I think I'm definitely going to be taking a look at those. But something like this is about $28 normal price, but they're always having 25% off or sometimes even 40% off sales. So something like this could be had for as cheap as about 16 or 17 bucks versus 120 or 130. Again, lifetime warranty, something happens, take it in, you're walking out with a brand new Ratchet. The other one, this is actually relatively new to me, but I've been playing around with it since I got it, is this SK Tools. Now, this is not it's not SK made in the US, unfortunately, but it's actually a very reasonably priced Ratchet. On Amazon, it kind of floats between $15 and $18 or so. This one's also a 90 tooth, but I really like the feel of this one, the size of this one, and, you know, very, very minimal back drag on it as well. So, you know, both these sets, like I said, it's going to be around, say, you know, as low as, say, $15, max price of about $28. Again, you're saving $100 minimum over something like this. Next up, and last up, at least for this video, let's look at wrenches. It seems to me that wrenches are one of the kind of the most highly contested things, especially when it comes to Snap-on. And, you know, you have their standard bearer right here, their Flank Drive Plus, that's been the same forever. You know, this set, like I mentioned in my last video, is probably from the early 2000s. So I've had these things for quite a bit, as you can kind of see from all the wear and tear and stuff like that. Great wrenches. I'm not going to say anything bad about them, other than there hasn't been really any innovation, you know, in a long time for these wrenches. Now, I'm sure the one you guys would expect me to recommend here would be the Icon anti-slip wrenches, which are a great alternative for this one. This set is probably about $500-600, where the Icon version are around $130, but can be had sub $100 during their sales. And they're very, very similar to this guy right here. But we've seen tons of videos recommending that. So I'm actually going to have two other recommendations for you that are going to be, one that's going to be a similar price to the Icon, which is going to be these Milwaukee Max Bite. And the thing I like about these guys is they do have those extra teeth in the front here if you need them, just like the Flank Drive Plus does. But these ones have a 12 point as well, just like the Flank Drive, where some of the other ones I've used recently, like the Craftsman and the Mac, have a 6 point. So this one makes it for a much better kind of daily driver. I also like the beam on this, you know, a little bit better than the beam on this. It's just a little bit more comfortable, especially when if you're putting a lot of pressure on this thing. And these things, you know, they'll go on sale for sometimes as low as $50 for a set of these guys, but normally I think they're closer to about $100-120, which is still not a bad deal for just the metric set or SAE set. And I should mention that on the Snap-on, when I say like $500-600, that's just for the metric set, not for both. Having said that, however, this I think is a great set that not a ton of people talk about. You know, I've definitely seen some videos about this, and it was mentioned on the on Toolbox Tours, and that's actually where I found out about these things, you know, probably a couple of years ago. This is a great comprehensive set if you guys need some wrenches and you're trying to build out your set. They have a set of these that's 44 wrenches. It's a full SAE that goes all the way up to about 1.5 inches, and a full metric that goes up to, I believe, 32 millimeters. So they go up to a pretty large size, and they usually float somewhere in the, I don't know, $200 to $250 range, give or take, for that full set, which is, you know, when you break it down, again, it's probably about $100 for each you know, for metric, $100 for standard. But these things have treated me very, very well. Now, these ones do not have the Flank Drive style teeth on there, but they do grip very, very well. And these guys for daily drivers, especially when you don't want to mar the fastener at all, I think are a great alternative to go with versus the regular Snap-on. So obviously, you know, we could talk endlessly about other variations of, or other brands of wrenches and screwdrivers and things like that, but I just wanted to bring you guys a few alternatives to think about where you can spend sometimes, like I said, 1/10 of the price, you know, 1/4 of the price, things like that to Snap-on. You're still going to get the job done. Most cases, you're still getting a lifetime warranty. And in the case of things that you're getting from, you know, Harbor Freight, you can literally, it's almost like the old school Sears. You can walk in and walk out with a brand new tool without having to wait for them to order anything, or having to wait for them to fix something and actually, you know, remove it and put things back, where you're still going to get back your old handle. So tell me, you know, what do you guys think? Is this video helpful? Should I do more of these? I was debating doing another one of these where and do the same kind of thing, but maybe with 5 different types of pliers. I was going to add pliers in this video, but I figured there's way too many to just have one set of pliers. So I think a dedicated video for pliers would be appropriate. So again, leave your comments down below. Tell me what you think of my choices. And you know, if you didn't like my choices, tell me which ones would you recommend instead. As always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.